afternoon. I'm Diana Hart, Garden Director at Poplar Village Gardens, and I'm standing out in the front yard right now because we have this lovely stand of black-eyed Susans, and I think that there are lots of exciting things about the fall in gardening, and one of them is all of these wonderful plants that come into play for the pollinators during this time of the season. And the black-eyed Susans play into that, but also what we have here in the front yard is a lot of goldenrod that is starting to bloom. You can see that the yellow blossoms are coming out, and that's important food for the pollinators as we come into the fall season. The other thing that we have out here is part of our fall crop. We spent some time about a week and a half ago planting seeds so that we could have a harvest for the fall. And what we have now is some very exciting looking peas coming up in this front bed. In fact, both of these beds, they look like they're very happy, and as long as the weather doesn't get too hot, it should produce very well and be a really nice harvest for our friends at Miss Virginia's Mission House. Another one of the fall blooming plants that has come up in the yard spontaneously is the late boneset. The flowers are very interesting. Right now we have a lot of closed buds, but I can see that there's also some open buds on this plant, and the pollinators of all kinds. I don't see any honeybees, but there's lots of native pollinators that are taking advantage of this food. So I'm in the greenhouse right now, and one of the things that we did during our work day last weekend was we planted a lot of our winter crop that we wanted to grow here in the greenhouse. Now, it's been pretty warm this week, and so I don't think that it's likely that a lot of this came up. But I do see that there's a little bit, you can see some of the brassicas that are coming up here, and I notice that we probably haven't been watering this enough. So with a little bit of extra water, I think we should be able to see a lot of this come up. One of the other crops that we planted on our work day was the Swiss chard, radishes, turnips, mustard greens, a lot of things that will grow more readily in cold weather. And we planted them in these beds with the cold frame. And I can come to this bed and I see that we have a lot of our baby plants are starting to come up in this bed, much better than in some of the other beds, I might add. And this was one of our new ones that we built this spring that we finally got a chance to fill. But you can see we tried to get the Swiss chard along the back because the chard grows so tall that we wanted to make sure to have plenty of room for it if we did have to close the cold frame. The greens and the radishes and those kinds of things, they're a little bit lower growing, and so we could plant those in the front where they could still get sun, but they were not going to grow beyond the bounds of the cold frame if we did have to close the lid. One of the things that we've been working on this week is to work on our organization and planning for the harvest and wash and pack areas, which includes the refrigeration shed. We've used this area for a number of different things, and then we have to clean off the table if there's a bunch of dirt and we're getting ready to harvest. We did install a new set of shelves, and so our shelves are up here, and we have cleaned out all of the bins, so all of our materials that are involved in the food processing part of this space that we use are up off the ground and in clean tubs so that they can be ready to use when we are preparing for harvest.